Welcome to the NFL Week 3. Quick recap of Week 2. We went 2-1 against the spread. I had Seattle plus 5.5, one outright against Detroit. We had the Steelers Monday night, ugly win against the Browns, and we had the Jets. The Jets at plus 8.5 against the Cowboys, and they got killed. So 2-1, 3-1 week 1. So we're 5-2 overall to start the 2023 season. So we're off to a nice start. I'm going to go through a handful of games here, guys, in week 3. And then I'll put my official plays up on the Patreon. I'll put the link in the description. Click that, join to get my official plays. 5-2 on those plays for the season. Week 2 was a good week. As I said, I mean, Seattle, I thought they were a live dog. They ended up winning in overtime. Shouldn't have gotten to overtime. They had a 10-point lead late in that game. And similar to when we had the Colts in week 1, I'm like, oh my God, here's another 5.5 point dog with a lead late in the game, and they could lose this game. And the game went to overtime, and I'm like, geez, if the Lions win the toss and get a touchdown, we don't cover. And that would have been our second tough beat in 2 weeks. Pittsburgh, I didn't really watch that game. It was a Monday nighter, but I guess an ugly kind of win for them. I mean, a game maybe they shouldn't have won, but they got it done there. And then I had the Jets, which the Jets were just, as I explained in the video last week, when you're betting a team like the New York Jets, you're really just, with Zach Wilson, you're really just banking on, ball control, really good defense, relying on some of your playmakers on offense. And they just didn't, not that the defense played bad necessarily, but it was just the offense didn't do any of those things. Zach Wilson threw 3 more interceptions. They turned over the ball. They didn't have possession long enough in the game. Offense did absolutely nothing aside from the 1 touchdown to Garrett Wilson. And the defense, after a while, just gets tired. And, I mean, that's what happened. The Cowboys kind of opened that game up. The Jets are just, I think, a bet-off team at this point until they can get their quarterback situation figured out. So that one was just a loss, not really, the Jets were really never in that game from the get-go. But now, week 3, there's a lot of games. I went through some public sides last week that were, the top public plays. I'll do that again this week. Again, fading the public long-term is profitable. This week, couple. I don't remember who the public, the public was on last week, but I do remember. I think I forget who they were on, but I know they did not do well. Once again, if you've just been blindly fading the public this season, you have a winning record. This week, one of the top public plays is Miami against Denver. And you could see why. Miami's looked really good out of the start. Denver's looked bad. This is a game for me. If I'm playing it, I probably won't be playing this game, but it's Denver or pass. You might have missed, maybe the best of the number at this point for Denver, because if you can get them at plus 6.5, even buy if you want to buy half a point to get them to plus 7. But this is a classic, flat spot for Miami, maybe a sandwich game for Miami because they just came off a big win in New England last week at a primetime game. And next week they have another divisional game. They play, I think, Buffalo or New York, one of them. And now they have Denver here. So maybe a bit of a flat spot, maybe a little bit of a look-ahead spot for them. Denver had a lot of expectations coming into the season, a little bit anyway, getting Sean Payton more of an offensive coach, something they did not have last year. The first 2 games of the season at home as favorites, and they lost both. They lost against the Raiders. They blew a game against Washington where they scored over 30 points, had a big lead, and somehow still lost against the no-names. So no one wants any part of Denver. Now they're flying cross-country on the road to one of the most electric teams in Miami. But for Denver, it might be a bit of a good thing. Takes a lot of pressure off. Get away from home on the road where no one expects you to win. You're an underdog for the first time this season. And then given the fact that Miami's a little bit maybe of a flat spot, it could be a game where Denver keeps this game close. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this game. For me, it's Denver or pass. And that's my 2 cents on that game. A lot of these games I'll run through, give you my opinion, and then you guys can make your decision for yourself. My official plays, again, guys, will be on the Patreon. Chargers and Vikings. This game was intriguing to me. Pretty much a pick'em game. Line shifted towards my Minnesota being favored. It started with the Chargers being a small favorite, so money is coming in on Minnesota. Not really a public side though. I think it's fairly equal, on both sides here. Should be a good game. I want to pull the trigger on Minnesota. I have not trashed Minnesota this season like I did all of last season. I want to pull the trigger on them, but their defense has been so suspect. Both teams are 0-2. Both teams' season pretty much on the line, desperate for a win. Both teams can score a lot of points. Both defenses have been playing bad. Who knows in this game? It's pretty much a coin flip. I would like to bet Minnesota. Kirk Cousins at home at 1 o'clock has been money. But man, I don't trust that Vikings defense. And I don't know, the Chargers offense can put up a lot of points. But who knows in this game? Staley's an awful coach for the Chargers. I think his days are numbered. But so that I have a hard time betting the Chargers just because they blow leads and they're not dependable. Falcons at Lions. This is another very public side. The public is all over Detroit this week. Detroit, has been bet down now. I don't know why. I think sharp money is coming in on Atlanta. But this line has come down to Lions -3, but it was like 4.5, 5 points for the Lions earlier in the week. But the public does like Detroit in this game. Falcons, I don't know. There's not much about. I think they're 2-0. But I think Detroit's offense has looked impressive in the first two weeks. The Falcons can't score a lot of points. If I'm betting this game, I would take, Atlanta, be on the sharp side of things. But if I can't get a good number, I would just pass. It would have to be over 3 points, 4.5 points for me to take Atlanta in this game. But definitely, this is a square, sharp divide. Public will be on Detroit. Sharp money will be on Atlanta for sure. Tennessee and Cleveland. Cleveland, this line's sitting at about 3.5 now for Cleveland. Public dog. This is the public dog of the week. The public is all over Tennessee. So, I think if you can get a 3, you take Cleveland. If it's sitting at 3.5, just wait till Sunday. Wait till you can find a 3. If you have 3.5, Tennessee might beat the play. I personally like Cleveland at any 3 or better. 3.5 is a little harder, so it might just be a pass. For me, it's Cleveland or pass in this game. Carolina going to Seattle. Seattle is a 6.5 point favorite. This line has come down to maybe 5.5 now for Seattle. For me, Carolina or pass. Seattle, I was on them last week. They did well. But situationally, that's a good spot for them. They have been dominant on the road as an underdog going to the East Coast, playing those 1 o'clock games. They've won like 9, 10 in a row, whatever it is. They do well in that spot. As a home favorite, they have not been good. Pete Carroll, 5-13 against the spread at home as a favorite. Going back to 2019, we take 2020 out of it because there really wasn't any fans that season. So Seattle doesn't do well when they're laying points at home. Maybe they play down to their competition a little bit. Not many reasons to like to like Carolina. Andy Dalton will probably get the start, but there's not really any drop off in quarterback from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton. I think we're banking on Carolina has the first 2 games shown they have a very good defense. Their offense, I think, maybe gets a bit of a spark with Andy Dalton. Not long-term, obviously, but just for one game. Seattle does not have a good defense. And so for them to have a very bad defense and to be laying almost a touchdown, I think is a lot. And the public is all over Seattle in this game. So there's all the reasons why you want to take Carolina. It's an ugly dog. I get it. But for me, Carolina plus the points. Raiders and Steelers, Sunday night game. The Raiders are a small favorite. I think at -2.5. They did open up at around like -1, -1.5. For me, again, Raiders or a pass. I think if it was at 1.5, you could take them on the money line. You lose value now if you take them at money line at -2.5 because it's like -140. But Pittsburgh, we were on them last week. They didn't look great, but they got the win at home Monday night. Now they're on a short week. They're going out to Vegas. Their defenses look good. Their offense does not look good. I don't know how they're going to keep up with the Raiders. The Raiders looked bad last week. But they played Buffalo. So step down in competition. They're back home. Jimmy G, play it safe. Game manager, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, get enough points. I don't see how Kenny Two Gloves is going to keep up with the Raiders. Could be a close game. It should be a close game. But I think the Raiders get it done at home in this one. So for me, it's the Raiders all day. Jets and the Patriots. Jets are at home. Patriots opened at like -1.5. It's been bet up to -2.5. I mean, same thing. You could have took New England on the money line early. You probably lose some value now taking the Patriots on the money line because it's been bet up. But for me, it's New England or pass, and it's not so much a bet on New England. You have to fade the Jets at this point. They don't have a quarterback. So as good as their defense is, as many playmakers as they have, they don't have a quarterback, and he's not an NFL quarterback. It's one thing like Mac Jones is not a great quarterback, but at the very least, he can be a backup in this league. And a below-average starter. I mean, Zach Wilson is a below-average backup. So the Patriots have a coaching advantage, obviously, quarterback advantage, defense. Maybe you can make an argument the Jets have a better defense. But situationally, I mean, this is one where New England, I mean, they've beaten the Jets, I think, 14 in a row, something like that. And they played last year. I think they won 10-3 in this game when it was in New York. It's an ugly game. It's the lowest total on the board. I think it's like 37. It's probably going to be like a 10-3 type of game, 10-6 type of game. But I trust New England more. And, I mean, the Jets have shown that they just cannot move the ball whatsoever. And they're going to be going up against a pretty good defense, Belichick run defense. I don't know. I mean, Zach Wilson's 0-4 against these guys. I don't know how he's going to be able to generate any sort of offense. And then for New England, this is their first road game. I mean, they started off, first two at home against some really good teams, Philadelphia and Miami, and they held their own and against some good offenses in Philadelphia and Miami. And this is a huge step down playing against New York. This is where I think they get their first win against a team like the Jets. So Patriots are pass. And then the Saints and the Packers are another one that stuck out to me. Pretty much a pick-em game. Should be a close game like the Chargers and Vikings. And I'm going back and forth. I'm like, okay, if I'm playing one of these games, which one do I play? Because for me, it's the Vikings or pass, and it's the Saints or pass against the Packers. And it's like, okay, which team do I trust more? Do I trust Derek Carr going on the road, outdoors, at a home opener in Lambeau? Or I don't know if I'm not sure. I think this is their first home game. I could be wrong, but I think this is their first home game. Do I trust that? Or do I trust Kirk Cousins at home, 0-2, 1 o'clock game? Well, I trust the Vikings at home versus Derek Carr going on the road. But then on the same side, I say, okay, well, I also have the Chargers, who are actually capable of moving the ball and scoring some points. And then we have like a rookie quarterback in Jordan Love. So I do trust Herbert and that Charger offense more than I trust the Packers offense. Now, which coach do I like more? Packers coach is obviously way better than the Chargers coach. So you can make a case for both sides. For me, it comes down to the defensive side of the ball. And the Saints, I think, have a pretty elite defense going up against a young quarterback in Jordan Love. I know they might get Aaron Jones back this weekend. But I think the Saints can keep this game, give that Packers offense a lot of trouble. And I think Derek Carr and the Saints can at least generate enough offense. Derek Carr has not had a good season so far, but the Saints are winning. And I think that's going to have a lot of confidence in that Saints locker room. So if I'm playing this game, I like the Saints. Just take them on the money line. They're a small dog. So those are my picks, guys, this week, or my opinions this week. My official picks, again, will be on the Patreon. We're off to a 5-2 start. So like, subscribe, comment, guys. Let's keep this rolling. Good luck in week 3.